After a year full of gratitude and Thanksgiving, I just want to come here today and just say that I'm so grateful for everything life has to give me. I am so sick of you guys, like it's not even funny. The food wasn't even that good. So after that amazing, wonderful skit you got, let's start diving into it. So the first thing is, what is gratitude? Like, what is the actual definition? According to Google, and I am a professional looker-upper, is there a word for that?
Ava, professional Google looker-upper.
It's readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. Gratitude sounds like something that everyone should have, because I feel like if everyone had gratitude in the world, like true heartfelt gratitude, life would be so much easier and there would not be so much chaos. I figured this was a good video to do because of Thanksgiving coming up, and it's just a time to remember all the things that we're grateful for. So, gratitude. I'm going to be touching in on several different topics of it, specifically like what to do if you want to grow it and what not to do, how to increase your gratitude, what it means to be grateful, and at the very end I'm going to include like 5 different ways to be more thankful. When it comes to growing your gratitude, what are some things that you should and shouldn't do? First thing that I want to do is go to the book of Numbers in chapter 11, verses 4 through 6. So here it's the continuous journey of the Israelites out of Egypt to the Promised Land, and we kind of briefly know the story of how it was just chaotic, running away from Pharaoh. You know, they're grumbling, they have so many like trials, and it's crazy. You want drama? That book is like keeping up with the Israelites. I really wish we had like, I don't know, quail. That'd be nice. Or like, do you remember half the stuff we had in Egypt? Like cucumbers, melon. Bro, that was so good. Wait, are you complaining because we don't have like the things we had in Egypt? I just think that, you know, somebody could be doing a little bit better. I'm not gonna name names though. Well, I mean, if you think about it, all of our nutrients and all the things that we need to survive come in this little, like, seemingly bread flake. It's actually pretty cool if you think about it. I mean, why are we even out here? Like, we're not doing anything. We're literally, like, wandering in the desert. Like, what's going on? Moses doesn't even know what's going on. Like, you have to admit, this is, like, kind of ridiculous. I'm sorry, last I checked, we were literally, I don't know, enslaved in Egypt, and, like, they were killing our babies. And you want to go back to that? Like, God literally sent plagues, sent Moses to save us, and he led us by pillar of fire. He literally split the Red Sea. And not to mention that we have food falling from the sky. Here you see them just kind of grumbling about not having any meat and not having any veggies and whatever, even though God himself is bringing down food and nutrients from heaven with manna, and that little bread flake is able to provide for them, is able to give them nutrients and things that they need to have energy and to survive. So that alone is just amazing for one, but yet they're still complaining. So as the Israelites were grumbling, they grumbled to each other. They were complaining to each other. They didn't do anything about it other than complain to each other. But Moses actually went to God, and he went in prayer, and he's like, look, this is how I'm feeling, this is how the Israelites are feeling, like I need help. And so because he went to God, God was able to make that change for them. And that's another thing. Why bother complaining to each other when that does nothing? Instead of going to God and saying, hey, look, this is my problem. This is what's going on. I need some help. And he can actually make a change. But when we complain to each other, complaining does nothing other than sometimes even make the problem worse. So that's what not to do if you want to increase your gratitude. Don't complain. Don't grumble to each other. Complaining takes your eyes off of God and makes you more focused on the thing that's going around you. It's turning your attention away from God to the world and how everything's going bad or whatever, And that's a problem. And here are some of the things that happen when gratitude is a continuous part of your life. The first thing is that it's gonna make sure that you stay humble and that you just stay grateful for so much, because when you realize how much there is to be grateful for and how little your complaining and like negativity seem, it's gonna open your eyes and make you just rethink everything, because that's what it did for me when I actually started practicing gratitude. Another thing is that when you're constantly praising God and thanking Him for His blessing, it's going to help you not take it for granted. So when you start becoming comfortable in your Christian faith and you begin realizing how much God did for us in the past and right now, it's going to make you rethink everything, because it's like, wow, all that for me, you know? And one of the last few things is that it's going to help you take your mind off of the negativity in the world. Oftentimes we get so wrapped up in the stresses and the fears of life that we begin to just focus on that instead of just being grateful for God that we have life, that we have food, that we have water and clothes on our back. Like, we live so good compared to many people throughout the world. And then when we focus on that, when we focus on all the blessings that we have, it's going to take us from the chaos that we live in to being next to God and abiding with God. And another thing too is that when praise and worship and thankfulness are constantly on our lips, we find that our attitude towards life can change. We become renewed and we become less negative. And you know how people don't like being around negative people? Like, we may have those friends or even family members or people that we've just met that are just kind of like Debbie Downers. Like, they suck your energy away. It's like exhausting being with them. But we just have this new and refreshed attitude towards life. I found my scrunchie. 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, we see that He gives us 3 commands. Pray continually, be joyful, and give thanks in all circumstances. Well, how can we do that? It's all about decision making and having the discipline to do so. When we consciously make that decision to obey God, He's gonna see that and He's gonna bless us. When we consciously and do it with self-discipline, we are able to open up the doors for God to bless us because we're obeying Him. And when we obey Him, good things happen. So the last thing that I want to touch on are 5 different ways that you can grow your gratitude. So this is based off of Hebrews 12:28, and I think verse 29, I might add that. So the first one, we can be grateful that God hears and answers our prayers. We see that all throughout the Bible where their prayers are being answered, and we see that nowadays too. Think of how many times you humbly went up to God and asked Him for something, asked Him for insight, for wisdom, for help and discernment, and He was there. So we have the reassurance that God answers our prayers. And the fact that we can go to the Creator and just ask Him for something, not like, no, something like, I need help with this decision, give me your wisdom, stuff like that. He answers. And another is God's provision for our lives. Look around you. Where are you? Look around you right now and look at what God has given you. He's given us eyes to see nature and all of its beautiful animals and creatures and bugs too. God provides for us. That's why I really like the Lord's Prayer, like Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, you know. One of my favorite parts is like, give us this day thy daily bread. One of my favorite, when I was like doing a deep dive on that, I love learning that in that prayer, we're not asking, give us daily bread today, tomorrow, and the rest of the day. It's give us today our daily bread. You know, like we are asking and we're trusting that God is going to provide for us tomorrow too. And it's a good reminder to like have faith. And the third thing is God's blessing. But what does that mean? If you go to 1 Chronicles 16:34, it says, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His love endures forever. Number 4 is God's character and His wondrous works. So for me personally, how I feel more grateful and how I feel refreshed is going outside. And it feels good to have like the sun, you know, like having alone time outside, like being able to go up into the mountains or to a lake or something. To me, that's where I feel closest to God. And it sounds like hippie stuff, but for me it really does work and it does help me a lot. And also that we can rely on God's character. My first or second video, I talked about God's nature and characteristics, and then in my most recent video I talked about how, in my Satan one, I talked about how he can't be persuaded from his character. So he's naturally and eternally good. That means he's naturally and eternally good. And then number 5, brothers and sisters in Christ. Sometimes I struggle with this, sometimes I don't, but I don't realize the importance of having a Christian community around you and the importance of finding godly mentors. The body of Christ was meant for us so that way we can help each other. God knows that by ourselves we can't do much, which is why he encourages us to go to church and he encourages us to find other Christians. And when we again surround ourselves with those like-minded people, we begin either challenging ourselves and beginning to grow, or we help other people grow. Here's a little seed for your mind garden. What are some more practical ways that you in your personal life can practice more gratitude? How can you be more grateful? How can you show others around you that you're so appreciative of them and in your life? Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Thank you for sitting down and listening, and I hope you got something new from it. Also, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to comment down below. Thank you again, and God bless you. Have a wonderful day and do something nice for someone else.